because you're witnesses, and we are all witnesses to whether the Ohio Oil and Gas Land Management Commission will do the right thing and deny fracking of our beloved state parks and wildlife areas, or whether they will approve fracking despite all evidence of the dangers of fracking to our health and climate and environment and democracy. So last December 2022, during the lame duck session, where we all know nothing good happens, state legislatures rushed through House Bill 507. So this was originally a poultry bill about sales of poultry chicks, and they stuffed it with oil and gas amendments in a committee declaring natural gas or methane gas to be, quote, green energy, and kickstarting the process to lease our public lands for oil and gas extraction. Politicians say fracking our parks will make money for the state, but we know that's not true. We have a study from the Ohio Valley ORVI, that says that the top 7 fracked counties in Ohio have not seen a gain in jobs, have actually seen a loss in population, a loss to their economy. And meanwhile, an Ohio State University study shows that Ohioans spend $8.1 billion in recreation going to our natural spaces in this state. So we know that preserving our parks will actually make more money than fracking them ever could. We also we're told that we need fracking for energy independence, but we know that most of this fracked gas will either be turned into plastic or shipped outside through LNG terminals and exported outside of the state. We know that renewable energy is growing every year and that it's going to eclipse gas and coal by 2030. And we also know that right now over 50 cities in the United States are running on 100% renewable energy. And even some countries, Iceland, Costa Rica, Iceland's not a warm place, running on 100% renewable energy right now. The world outside Ohio is increasingly concerned about the climate crisis and transitioning off of fossil fuels. Michigan, the state of Michigan, last week set a goal for 100% renewable energy by 2040. So that's our neighbors to the north, and we could be doing that too. But unfortunately, that's not where we find ourselves. So this summer, Save Ohio Parks, along with Ohio journalists and other groups, uncovered hundreds of apparently fraudulent pro-fracking emails submitted to the Oil and Gas Land Management Commission during the public commenting process on fracking our parks. These messages, the organization at the root of these messages is called Consumer Energy Alliance. It's a Texas-based front group for some of the country's largest fossil fuel corporations. And up to 150 Ohioans have said, my name is on those letters, but I never submitted them, I never wrote them. We talked to about 100 of these people. These are people that some of them didn't know what fracking is. Some of them didn't speak English. A few of them told us they can't write. Some of them are children. So we know they did not submit these letters. Media coverage and the public outcry about this sparked an investigation by State Attorney General David Yost, but we have not yet heard of any outcome. And Consumer Energy Alliance has already done this 3 times in the past, including in 2016 in a previous case in Ohio, and still has not faced any consequences. So they just keep doing this. So most Ohioans recognize we need energy solutions for the future. We want clean energy manufacturers and clean energy jobs, and unless our leaders begin to make better decisions, we'll continue to suffer from low-wage jobs, declining education, increased cancer and asthma, and the desecration of our land, water, and air from oil and gas fracking operations. Fracking our parks is not wise use of natural resources. It's not revenue for the state. It's about locking Ohio into a dying fossil fuel industry so that out-of-state oil and gas companies can make a profit, and their big money donations can keep corrupt politicians in power with gerrymandered voting districts. But Ohio is not all gloom and doom. We are all here. And we're here to represent Ohio citizens. And at least 5,000 of us submitted comments opposed to fracking during the public commenting process. So no matter what decision the commission makes today, Save Ohio Parks is going to be here. We're going to keep working to make Ohio the kind of state we want. Democratic state with good jobs, good education, affordable health care, and a clean environment. So now I want to introduce Randy Poklodnik, another one of our steering committee members, and she's going to talk about what to expect if this commission does approve fracking in our parks and public lands. So welcome, Randy.
Yeah, I'm like the Lorax. Except I don't have a mustache, at least not yet. Yeah, I want to thank you all for showing up first before I go through my little speech here. I live in Harrison County. It's the third most fracked county in the state of Ohio. And on my way, with my husband down here, we actually passed the exit for Salt Fork State Park, and she just wanted to say thank you to all the people. I promised I wasn't going to cry. I'm going to start. All the people that showed up today to try to stop this horrendous thing that's happening. My background is in environmental studies, and I have a PhD, and I did my research work on non-timber forest products, so I know how valuable forests are, not just for an economic value for things like ginseng, but just to recreate in, for our kids to grow up in, and to absorb carbon from the atmosphere. And thinking about doing this industrial process next door or even underneath of them or on top of them, anywhere close to them, is ridiculous. Fracking in general is ridiculous. The Appalachian counties of Ohio suffer from what is called resource curse. We have an abundance of resources lying below us, but the region has never been able to make significant gains in economic growth. Promised jobs from fracking were never realized. And all you have to do is drive through Scioto, Bowerston, Caddis, Jewett, and you will see buildings falling down and the population is dwindling. And right next door, you'll see giant fractionator plants. So those jobs are not for local people, and there's far and few between as far as jobs in that area. Our communities are simply sacrificial zones for an industry that cares little about our families or the land that we love. They only care about the Utica Marcellus shale gas and how much money they can make from them. Now this industry is coming after our precious state parks, land that was designated as belonging to the people of the state. Land that is supposed to be ours to recreate on and enjoy forever. Ohio politicians who voted for HB 133 back in 2011 and HB 507 in December of 2022 only see dollar signs, and they're okay with fracking the entirety of Salt Fork, Wolf Run, Valley Run, and Zepernick Wildlife Areas. Fracking is like metastatic cancer. It eats away our forests and pollutes our streams. It ruins wildlife habitat and pollutes our air. It fragments ecosystems with endless pipelines that cut across farms, fields, and forests. Ohio politicians in this commission are willing to sacrifice the future of our parks, the future of our children, and the future of our grandchildren, all for a buck. I don't believe the commission members, Ryan Richardson, Stephen Buer, Jim McGregor, Matthew Warnock, and Michael Wise, are stupid. Citizens have sent them hundreds of peer-reviewed studies to educate them about the harms of fracking, the health effects, the pollution, the contribution to climate change, and the possible destruction of our parks. Why would they ignore these studies and data about accidents, explosions on well pads, fires on well pads? Why do our kids in Southeast Ohio counties, have to breathe toxic pollutants and drink polluted water? The hundreds of well pads, storage tanks, and compressor stations that cover the landscape in fracked areas are not benign. They leak dangerous carcinogenic hydrocarbons 24/7. Are we willing to throw our $8 billion tourism industry and our $866 million hunting economy under the bus so out-of-state companies can make ridiculous profits at the expense of our state parks? No. Are we willing to sacrifice more land, more water, and accept billions of gallons of toxic waste into our communities? No. I was at a symposium yesterday with my husband in Pittsburgh about shale gas and health effects, and one of the speakers, Justin Noble, talked about the fracking produced water, and at one point they mentioned that Marcellus was the hottest of all the different shale gases as far as produced water, 22,000 picocuries per liter. The Safe Drinking Water Act allows 5. And that is what's being injected and carried and trucked around our communities. Now, New York State listened to their healthcare professionals, and they denied fracking. So before it ever started, they actually asked people who were qualified to give their testimony about whether or not they wanted to go ahead and frack New York State. And make no mistake, New York is lying above some pretty serious shale gas deposits too. But Ohio, instead, they ignored all the health studies and the environmental studies that show that fracking is linked to cancer and cardiovascular disease, asthma, birth defects. They ignored those. No one who reads these studies and has a brain could possibly say, without lying, outright lying, that it's safe to frack our parks. So if they say yes, then I say they're either brain dead or they didn't read any of these studies or they're bought and paid for. Ohio can do better. We can create sustainable jobs that provide good wages without killing our future, destroying our parks, and leaving the citizens with a mess to clean up, like all the abandoned oil and gas wells that dot the whole southeastern portion of the state that we're paying to clean up. So I want everybody to stand tough. We want to save Ohio parks. They belong to us. They do not belong to the fossil fuel industry. Thank you.
Kathy, am I next? Where's Kathy? Okay.
Go for it.
Hello, my name is Jenny Morgan. I'm a preschool teacher, founder of Leave No Child Inside, and a member of Save Ohio Parks steering team. I care deeply about our children and the natural world. Nature is critical for children's healthy development. It eases depression, anxiety, improves brain function, and so much more. But to be good for our children, their nature experiences have to be safe and clean, obviously. As the Commission considers fracking our public lands, the most important question, is fracking safe? Fracking and safety were discussed on WOSU recently. Host Mike Thompson asked Rob Brundrett, president of Ohio Oil and Gas, about the safety record of fracking in Ohio. And Brundrett said, and I quote, "The industry took off 12 to 13 years ago, and we're only talking about 1 or 2 instances right here," he said. "The record pretty much stands for itself. We've not had any real instances environmentally." After hearing Brundrett, I made a public records request to this place right here, ODNR, the regulator, and to see what the record says. What did I find? I wish I would have found there had only been 1 or 2 oil and gas incidents. Instead, the record showed hundreds of accidents each year in Ohio alone. Explosions, fires, spills, fish kills, radioactive brine truck accidents polluting reservoirs and streams. Oh, and ODNR recently suspended gas and oil injection wells for fear of imminent danger to health and the environment down in Athens. 4 of them. Fracking doesn't sound safe, does it? No! It sounds accident prone. And that's terrifying, my friends, because the gas and oil life cycle is rife with dangerous materials, radioactive waste, radioactive air particulates, cancer-causing chemicals, and much more. How can this commission even consider for 1 second putting our parks and children at risk? Here's another question. How have the commissioners prepared to make their decisions today? Have they reviewed primary sources and scientific research, or merely considered and consulted with oil and gas reps like Rob Brundrett? Save Ohio Parks could not have done more to provide the Commission with primary sources, expert testimony, scientific studies, and more, outlining the fracking risks Experts are ringing alarm bells. I'm telling you, fracking is a health emergency, they say. And scientists say, and this is important because they're going to say it in there. Scientists say these activities are harmful in ways that cannot be mitigated through regulation. If the commission wants to protect our parks and children, the only vote today should be denial of all requests to frack our public lands. With this said, please know when we go in there today, Chair Ryan Richardson may claim once again falsely that their hands are tied and that Ohio legislators have mandated them to vote yes. Not true. Not true. Ohio Revised Code 155.33 B1 reads, and I quote, "The commission shall conduct a meeting for the purpose of determining whether to approve or disapprove the nomination." So when she says her hands are tied and their hands are tied, not true. Has this been a charade? A kangaroo commission? Shame, shame, shame on this commission. We know their names. We will say their names out loud and keep saying them out loud. Chair Ryan Richardson. Commissioner Stephen Brewer. Commissioner Jim McGregor. Commissioner Matt Warnock. Matt Weiss. Our children, our grandchildren will know your names, and you will forever be known as the individuals that put our beloved children and our parks, park waters, park air, flora and fauna at risk, as the individuals that sold our parks out, sold our parks and our children's health out to big gas and oil. Shame, shame, shame on them. We will never forget, and we will not let this impending tragedy stand.
Let's have a big hand for Jenny Morgan. She's put her heart and soul in this, and you can see how passionate she is. Whose land? Whose land? Commission, yes, you have the authority to deny. Commission, yes, you have the authority to deny. Commission, yes, you have the authority to deny. I'm Lorraine McCosker, an 18-year veteran of public land protections in Ohio, and I was in the state legislature in 2011 when this bill was passed. Ahead of the UN climate talks in Dubai later this month, 650 scientists have issued a joint call on Tuesday demanding that the Biden administration prove that he recognizes the existential threat of climate crisis by backing a fast and fair phase out of all fossil fuels, meaning coal, oil, and gas, and for all other nations. Whose land?
Our land.
Commission, you have the authority to deny.
Commission, you have the authority to deny.
House Bill 133 was passed in 2011 against the will of the people. A gerrymandered state legislature, many people who are no longer in the state legislature, passed this bill stating that it was the policy of the state to promote the exploration for and development of production of oil and gas and natural resources, owned or controlled by the state in an effort to use the state's natural resources. Whose land?
Our land.
Commission, you have the authority to deny.
Commission, you have the authority to deny.
When House Bill 133 was passed, there was opposition in the public, and the Columbus Dispatch published a survey that indicated 70% of Ohioans were opposed. Kasich backed down and never appointed the Oil and Gas Commission, and he did this just before he left office, presumably under the pressure of oil and gas. Whose land?
Our land.
Commission, yes, you have the authority to deny.
Commission! Yes, you have the authority to deny!
Ohio is a gerrymandered, corrupt state. So corrupt that the former Speaker of the House was found guilty of bribery of $60 million and is now in jail. Governor Kasich actually accepted $1 million from the very same entity, First Energy, during his 21 campaign. Yeah, the House Bill 6, which was passed under this corruption phase, has not been revoked. Whose land?
Our land!
Commission, you have the authority to deny.
Commission! You have the authority to deny!
The FBI calls Ohio's state legislature the most corrupt in the nation. Ryan Richardson, chair of this entity, says that the legislation must be upheld.
No! No! Deny! Deny!
The reality is that the GOP supermajority has found its power through gerrymandering, and their extreme legislation does not represent the majority of Ohioans. No. Whose land?
Our land!
Commission, you have the authority to deny.
Commission! You have the authority to deny!
Whatever happens today, please stay engaged. There are fights ahead for us, for the future of the public lands, for the democracy that we're striving to uphold. And it's just about people being out here on the ground working, opposing the big money and big oil. And indeed, big oil is running just about everything at this point. So whose land is it?
Our land!
Commission, you have the authority to deny.
Commission, you have the authority to deny!
Let's send that message to Ryan Richardson.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, can you hear me? Oops. Okay. So I gotta change my glasses. I'm Jess Grimm with Third Act Ohio and Save Ohio Parks.
All right!
You can't hear me. You know, being tall. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I'm Jess Grimm from Third Act Ohio and Save Ohio Parks. Thinking Woo! For old people, as our voices go out when we're trying to talk, right? Been doing it. So many people have been doing this for a long time. Thinking globally and acting locally may sound like platitude, but that's exactly what we are doing here today.
Woo!
Governor DeWine's and the OGLMC's charade of caring about what Ohio citizens want for their public lands has gone up in smoke, and we are pissed.
Yeah.
If this commission today greenlights these nominations, then it's not just Appalachians, not just Ohioans, not just the people who live in this country or on this continent or in this hemisphere, but all life on the planet is further imperiled. The UN and IPCC agree we are on a trajectory to increase global temperatures by 1.3 degrees Celsius within 4 years. This is no time for new or expanding fossil fuels. It is anywhere. No time for expansion or new fossil fuels anywhere. And sure as hell, no time to start fracking up Ohio's precious public lands for profit. When Ohio fracks, downriver waters run polluted and toxic or dry up altogether. When Ohio fracks, the U.S.'s contribution to greenhouse gas emissions and global warming ticks up measurably. When Ohio fracks, the planet tips that much further into an unlivable future. We need to stop every new fossil fuel project on this planet, in the U.S., and damn well in Ohio. To the Oil and Gas Land Management Commission, climate change is real, and climate chaos is here. And you know fracking Ohio's public lands will directly contribute to rising temperatures and accelerating climate chaos. With increased warming from more Ohio fracking, our hardwood trees will eventually die out. Our streams, rivers, and lakes will become toxic enough to kill off all aquatic life. Fracking's noise and light pollution will drive out wildlife and make the notion of peace and tranquility in our parks a joke. Commissioners, do you honestly think fracking won't negatively impact our state parks? Do you honestly think Ohio fracking won't negatively impact our planet? Or do you just not care?
Deny.
Shame, Governor DeWine. Shame, Chair Richardson and Commissioners McGregor, Buer, Warnock, and Wise. Shame. Where will future generations of your family go to relax and enjoy the great outdoors? Certainly not Ohio State Parks if you okay these nominations. The buck stops here. Do the right thing, commissioners. Deny these nominations. Deny. Deny.
Deny. Deny. Thank you. Thank you, Jess.
Okay, anyone who hasn't signed this will need to just put your name in, and we'll just need to sign this before you leave. So that's all our speakers, and we can open this up to any questions. Randy and Lorraine and Jess and Jenny.
Yeah, I got this message yesterday from Mr. Moffitt about the. I got this message yesterday from Mr. Moffitt about the message from legal counsel at The Ohio State University. They are legal counsel of The Ohio State University who have asked the commission to deny the parcel that they own and that ODNR does not own. The rationale that they give cannot be used to deny the applications for the other parcels.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so what the question was is that yesterday the clerk of the commission, Nate Moffitt, sent out items having to do with this meeting. If you're on their mailing list, you would have received that. And one of them was a letter from Ohio State University, and it concerned fracking it was nomination 0008, which is fracking at Wolf Run. And that nomination is for the entire park of Wolf Run, which is about 1,000 acres, plus 1,000 acres of the surrounding area. That surrounding area includes an agricultural research station owned by Ohio State University, where they do research into soil health, and they have all sorts of experimental fields, and fracking would certainly affect what's going on in their fields, and so they are asking the commission to deny that nomination. The question is, could that be applied to the other nominations? And I'm not a legal person, so I can't say for sure, but the other nominations are mostly about the park or the wildlife area itself. They don't include like far-reaching surrounding area like the Wolf Run one does. So honestly, probably not. But again, I'm not an attorney, so I can't say. I can say that for Salt Fork, we have at least 2 different companies nominating it. There's several nominations, but it looks like 3 of them are from the same company. It's for the entire 20,000 acres of Salt Fork, which is our largest state park. And one of the companies proposes surrounding Salt Fork with probably at least 16 frack pads, some as close as 400 feet from the park. So we know that air pollution travels. We know they would have to take, for every single frack, millions, 5 to 20 million gallons of water, which even if they don't take it from the lake within the park, they'd be taking it from streams that feed that lake. All the water ecology would be changed. Noise travels, light travels. It would definitely change the character of Salt Fork, and not for the good. I'm going to let Lorraine say something.
The very earth travels.
So that letter from OSU attorneys also stated that the land was owned by them. They were actually trying to lease land that wasn't even owned by ODNR. And secondly, there was no effort to reach out to OSU or citizens. And I think that's been our major complaint in this whole process. Unless we did the work or people read about it, there was no effort by the ODNR and the Oil and Gas Land Management Commission to let people know about this, so we got the proper amount of comments. And just, there's something like 5,000 comments, and only 8 were in favor. The non-corrupt emails were in favor out of the 5,000. So this is terribly gerrymandered in that capacity. But why didn't ODNR put out an effort to find out what the Ohio citizens wanted?
Yes. They didn't want to know. They don't care.
Lock them up! Lock them up! Lock them up!
Okay, do we have any other questions, comments, stories?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. It's nonsensical. I just don't understand why we're still trying to stay in the 20th century with fracking and oil and coal and everything else. It just doesn't really make any sense. So it's something also that even for an economic standpoint and everything else, none of it makes any sense. Thank you very much.
So thank you again, everyone. And yeah, we need to wrap it up because the meeting does start.